Let's go through time. Questions answered with a snap and a chime. Feel the beat, our path it charts. How we thrive when we do our part. Captain Shuru. Our tax makes Kenya grow with Captain Shuru. Captain Shuru. So sing the song so we can know the importance of tax on the adventures of Taji and Captain Shuru. Captain Shuru. Captain Shuru. Captain Shuru.
Understanding, let it be beneficial to them and to us. We commit the session in your hands together with our panelist. Guide us from now till the end. In Jesus' name we've prayed. Amen. All right. So then let me just go over and see. I had asked us to share. And my clarity, Vikro, I'm almost asking, is the white too bright for you on this end? Because I could remove it. But I just want to ask those that are commented on the chat box. Bob, thank you. Husna Mohammed is coming to us from Mombasa. Maybe you can find Barak where he is. I see we have quite a number of people from Mombasa County. Thank you so much. Samuel is from Nairobi. Okay. We have Dennis Mwita, who is joining us from Migori County. Dennis, karibu sana. And please post, tell me, where is it that you're tuning in from? Which part of the country are you joining us from? I see your feedback that have come in. So let's keep them coming. Let me know where you're joining us from. Bob, where are you tuning in from? So now allow me to give this opportunity to our panelist of the day, Barak. Bob, thank you. I see that you're from Nairobi. Let me get more feedback. Barak, I want to welcome you to give an introduction of yourself. Let us know who you are, what you do, so that we can get on to the topic of the day today. Barak?
Yes, good morning. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, you're loud and clear. We can hear you.
Thank you. So my name is Barak Waluvengo. I am a KRA staff. I've been working at KRA from the year 2016, where I joined as an iTax officer. And over the years, I was involved in several initiatives and culminated in the tax-based expansion office. So currently I work at the tax-based expansion office under the domestic taxes department, which my office is based at is at the Samia Business Park. For those of you who know Samia Business Park along Mombasa Road, I am just in Mombasa for a short time, but on a daily, I'm always at Samia Business Park, where part of my work is to, ensure VAT compliance, to ensure monthly rental income compliance, and basically expand the tax base, scrutinize the tax heads, and make sure that Kenyans are basically, compliant. I have quite a passion in VAT, following my experience rather with taxpayers, because I've been working largely with the informal sector as we collect data, and I've gathered quite some experience when it comes to value-added tax and the paying areas of taxpayers who basically MSMEs, let me call them MSMEs. I've dealt with MSMEs a lot, and I understand their pain areas, because my work largely involves helping them to acquire the obligation and to basically register, to file, and to make payments in a seamless manner.
All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Barak. Let's appreciate him. I know we have hand clap emojis here that we can give to our panelist. Indeed, we are in safe hands today. We wanted to bring in an expert who is very hands-on in the day-to-day business that he does dealing with VAT. And we are going to talk about all matters VAT registration. I don't know if you would wish to share your screen. This would be a good time, Barak. I see that we are joined by Daiko. Is that Daiko or Dalko from Kapsabet, Nandi County? Karibu sana. And I see Dixon also, who's joining us from Nairobi. We have the Mombasa people, very well represented. We have, is it Kambulu's Limited? Yes, from Mombasa. Thank you very much for joining us. Even as our panelist is sharing his screen now so that we can just get on to today's discussion. Remember, if you have any queries, any questions that you'd want answered, please reserve them. We will have a Q&A time just immediately after this sensitization. You can be free to ask your questions both on the chat box, and also you can ask your questions through raising your hands, and I'll be able to select you and just give you an opportunity to unmute and ask the questions. Now, the KRA TV crew, thank you so much, have posted the link for us for this particular live stream on the chat box. You can click on the link and you can also share. Please remember to subscribe, because each and every Thursday from 11 a.m. we have a training that happens every Thursday here. So please ensure that you subscribe so that you can be notified of all the trainings that come up. So then, Barak, maybe let's... Okay. All right. So we are getting the screen up in a moment so that we can get started on today's session. All right, we should be projecting to you in just a moment. Just give us a couple of few minutes. All right, as I get to share the presentation, I wish to ask our KRA TV crew to play us a video just now. As I am sharing the screen in just a moment so that you can get to see what we are doing as KRA TV. On this note,
Hello and welcome to another session of the Mobile Tax Unit Service Testimonials, where you, the taxpayers, can tell us your experience at the Mobile Tax Unit bus and how we can better our services. This week, tumekuwa hapa South Rift, tumeweza kufilia returns, tumeweza kuapply for tax amnesty, and also tumeweza kueducate on e-teams. Tumeinteract na taxpayers from Rumuruti, from Keringet, Kapsoit, Longisa, na pia Kilgoris. Let's hear what they have to say.
My name is Tali. I teach. I'm so happy today. This is a good and the best day for me. The KRA guys are here. I had a penalty of 120,000, but now it's clean. It's zero. I'm so happy.
Naitwa Anwata kutoka Rumuruti. By the way, leo nimeona basi yenu na ikakuwa msaada mkubwa kwangu. Juu nilikuwa na deni kubwa na imeweza kunitolea hiyo deni yote. So naweza omba pia mruti tena Rumuruti muwasaidie watu wenye wako na deni tu kama mimi. So now I'm free.
Lilian Gadoni Macharia kutoka hapa Rumuruti. Za electronics ninauza ufas, TVs, computers na niko registered to KRA na registered teachings. Hii teachings inasaidia haraka na inarahisisha kazi ya kila mwisho wa mwezi. Unafanya mahesabu kwa uharaka na urahisi, na it is the best thing nimekuwa nayo kwa biashara yangu.
Naitwa Marian, naishi Gilgil na nafanya kazi Gilgil Town.
Na leo asubuhi nikaona basi ya KRA just opposite direct my shop, na nikawatembelea wanisaidie kunibadilishia my email, which they did, na nikafurahia sana. And on top of that, nilikuwa na swali, nilikuwa nataka wanionyeshe about tax amnesty ambayo wamenionyesha, na nikaona ni rahisi, na nafurahia kwa sababu ya kuja kwao, kwa sababu nimejua.
Remember. Okay. All right. I think we have our panelists back on board and we are now ready to share our screen. Thank you very much for bearing with me. The screen will be up in just a moment. So Barak, you can confirm that you can hear us?
Yes, I confirm that I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. So even as we figure out the sharing of the screen, perhaps let's just get started, and you can give us an overview of what it is that you will be taking us through today. And thank you. We can actually see your screen. Fantastic. I think this is great. Training on addition of VAT and pay for new PIN applications. Barak, your screen is very clear. So allow me to hand over the session now to you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Maybe our taxpayers can quickly confirm that they can actually see what's on the screen. Bob and your team, thank you,
And
Esther.
They can confirm too if they can hear me clearly.
Yes, please give us a confirmation. Esther Moredi, thank you, from Silicom Limited. Thank you very much. Please give us a quick confirmation that you can hear us, a thumbs up, so that our panelists can proceed. Nicholas, thank you. That's very good feedback. Barak, I think we're good to go. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So before, of course, I scroll on my slides, I would like to say that this training will focus on VAT only. I think I pulled a slide that had pay too, but our session will be focusing on VAT only. Basically, the addition of this obligation and the possible challenges that taxpayers usually face when they want to acquire this obligation or when they are really dealing with this obligation. It has been quite a pain area for startups, for MSMEs, or for lack of a better word, for people who have never interacted with KRA, people who are not very well connected, maybe, people who don't have people who know people, or rather, they don't have connections. So we would want to demystify, the administration of VAT, so that the general, population, Kenyans, understand that it is quite a simple obligation. It is quite easy to deal with, this obligation. So we'll also go through why there are hurdles to, the approval process for VAT. Why do taxpayers face thorough scrutiny, and why are there delays? Yeah. We'll introduce the concept of missing traders so that you understand the background, or the backdrop of where KRA is coming from, and what we are trying to deter. Yeah. Okay. So first, let's go through the provisions that govern or guide VAT. Who is supposed to register for the obligation? Yeah. So here on this slide, we are looking at the VAT legal provision. It is covered under the VAT Act, Chapter 470. So a person who has made, who is in the course of business and has made taxable supplies, or who is intending to make taxable supplies of above 5 million shillings, is a person who should register for VAT. So it does not mean that you must have made the supply. If you have intentions of making that supply, and from your calculations, from your business plan, you can clearly see that in the course of a whole year, that is 12 months, you will have made a turnover of about 5 million. Not a profit, a turnover. Yeah. So you can easily divide 5 million by 12 to know how much you should be making in a month, for you to estimate that you are actually a taxpayer who should register for VAT. When I quickly look at it from my calculator, 5 million divided by 12, you should be making a turnover of around 416. Yeah, so this is quite achievable. A lot of businesses hit such a turnover, considering this is not a profit. These are the general sales. So businesses that make, say, profits of 50,000 shillings per month should be within that bracket, essentially, of taxpayers who should be registering for VAT. So that's why I'm insisting with point B, that if you're about to commence making taxable supplies, the value which is reasonably expected to exceed over 5 million, in that period, you shall be liable under this act. And you should do so, you should do the registration within 30 days. Yeah. There are exceptions to VAT. People who supply imported digital services over the internet or electronic network, they should be registering for digital service tax. Or when your turnover is below 5 million shillings, we usually encourage taxpayers to register for turnover tax, which is a whole and other obligation with a different rate and a different way of administering it. So for now, we'll focus on VAT. And note that you can register for VAT voluntarily. Yeah. And you should register for VAT voluntarily if you are intending to make taxable supplies. But again, KRA as an institution, we will call KRA the commissioner at this point. The commissioner can also register a person when the commissioner feels that or we comes across data that shows you made taxable supplies. Such data is, for example, withholding tax. For example, you've supplied to a government institution, and before you're paid, tax is withheld, and you're paid the remainder, and you're issued with a withholding certificate. The commissioner can gather withholding tax data and forcefully register such taxpayer. Yeah. So registration is not limited to you as a taxpayer voluntarily doing it. Sometimes the commissioner forcefully registers you for the obligation. So it is important that before registering, or even in the course of registration, you provide, or rather you keep proper records, so that when KRA requests for documentation from you, for example, business registration documents or your financial records, you can easily present them. This can be done either manually, or you can adopt an invoicing system through which you can keep your records. So I'll quickly go through, knowing that the session is short. I'll quickly go through the missing trader scheme, and this at least will build some background when we are trying to understand the requirements for VAT. I know a willing taxpayer would walk into Times Tower or walk into any KRA station expecting to be served or expecting to be given that obligation instantly. But then a lot of taxpayers are usually disappointed that they can go to a KRA office and fail to get this VAT obligation as they had expected. And so you wonder, why is KRA frustrating me? We need to understand the missing trader scheme so that as we move, we will know why some of these requirements are asked for. Yeah. So we'll define the missing trader scheme. It is a scheme, basically, it's a scheme covering VAT fraud. Yeah. So a few years ago, KRA commenced an investigation to unearth this elaborate scheme. Yeah, the scheme was designed as a VAT racket, and it involved the generation of fictitious tax invoices from ghost traders. We'll call them ghost traders or non-existent traders. KRA noticed a rather suspicious trend where a number of taxpayers suddenly had a huge drop in the VAT liability, despite increasing efforts in pushing for, increasing efforts in basically it was doing well in terms of the economy.
Barak, we can hear you now. We lost you at some point, but now we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. So I was explaining the missing trader scheme. I don't know how far I went.
No, it was just a bit, ilikuwa kidogo sana. It was just a small bit. I think it was a challenge with the mic here.
I'm using my phone, and I think some people are trying to call me. So, yeah. So this trend was picked by our surveillance team. Yeah. Because there was a huge drop in VAT payments, and so this had to be investigated. So the initial investigations confirmed that the scheme had actually been established by some individuals who were actually selling invoices. You would ask yourself, why would someone buy an invoice? Why would a trader buy an invoice? If you understand how VAT works, it's an input and output kind of mechanism where your purchases are called inputs and your sales are called outputs. So there's within your purchase, there's input VAT, and in your sale, there's output VAT. So when you do output minus input, you need to then get the VAT amount. Yeah. So when your input tax is higher than your output, it means that there's no VAT that you are going to pay at all. It means then that you will be doing credits carried forward. You will be running in the negative. You won't have any tax to pay. It will seem like you need a refund from KRA. So, just an example of the figures that were coming. It was in the billions. There's actually a taxpayer who was taken to court for prosecution, and they had defrauded KRA of 7 billion. 7 billion shillings. That is just one taxpayer. We have suffered the, under the VAT fraud of the missing trader scheme, KRA has lost over 70 billion from the period of 2015 to now, to date. And so, in an effort to deter traders who are engaged in this missing trader scheme, KRA came up with measures to protect the authority and protect our country from these fraudsters, because the percentage might not be as huge, but the impact is very high. The impact on revenue is extremely high, and it causes unfair competition, and it also has tentacles into money laundering and whatnot. So basically, financial fraud or tax planning and tax evasion is what is bringing us here. So these missing traders, basically, they have their beneficiaries, and their beneficiaries are normal companies around. Yeah. So you find a manufacturer, for example, is carrying on their trade. They've been carrying on their business for a long time and paying their VAT religiously. But then along the way, a fraudster engages them and convinces them that they can actually pay less VAT to KRA. How can they pay it? By buying their invoices. So they purchase invoices claiming that they have purchased goods, but these goods are non-existent. They get the inflated invoices and they use them in their system to reduce their VAT liability, and then they, of course, pay the fraudster a small percentage. It has been hard for KRA to capture that because the invoices belong to a class of goods that are naturally the kind of goods that this trader uses. So sometimes it's really hard to determine who is really a missing trader. But over time, our experts have been able to unearth this racket. Yeah. So how does this scheme work? Missing traders, they issue invoices for goods or services that do not exist. We call them missing traders because these people, even when we call them or when you email them, they never respond. We have no way of reaching these individuals or these companies. They do not have physical locations. Their phone numbers do not go through, but they're actually trading. Now, when we go to their customers, we have no legal basis to ask them where whoever dealt with them is located. Yeah, so it becomes a cat and mouse game. So these goods and services are sold to legitimate businesses, which then claim VAT input credits based on these fictitious transactions. So naturally, KRA would want to know their taxpayers at the point of registration. This way, we felt we might sort of deter missing traders from thriving. Yeah. So then we have also VAT credit claims. The legitimate businesses use these fictitious invoices to claim VAT input credits, thereby reducing their overall tax liability. This means they pay less VAT to the government than they actually owe. The impact of this scheme is revenue loss. It is market distortion because it causes unfair business practices, because legitimate businesses that are actually paying taxes in full are put at a disadvantage since they are clearly competing with fraudulent businesses that manipulate the tax system. And then there's complex investigation. The scheme requires tax enforcement efforts that require significant resources to investigate. Basically, trying to unearth missing traders, it requires a lot of time, and it also requires systems like business intelligence systems that can run scripts which then figure out or they unearth the missing trader. Such systems are expensive and complex to develop. Yeah. So then, when you are faced with such a huge problem as an authority, do you punish the good taxpayers who are not missing traders or taxpayers who are not even in the scheme? It sounds unfair that requirements were developed to cut across board, yet it's only a section of fraudsters who are existing. And we should have maybe formulated some policies of dealing with these fraudsters and not formulate a law or guidelines that cut across board. And it is quite difficult, of course, to do that. And therefore, we decided to develop these guidelines so that the guidelines apply to everyone, regardless of whether you are a fraudster or not. So we said we must have mandatory requirements for the VAT obligation addition so that we can filter off, or we can, in an attempt basically to filter and subtract or rather to eliminate missing traders or potential missing traders. So we decided we'll be asking for the original CR12 for companies and identity documents for directors or individuals, including ID cards, national ID cards, passport or alien cards, in a bid to know who is the real person behind this company. We also went ahead to ask for investors' permits for non-Kenyan non-residents, so that if a non-Kenyan non-resident has not been allowed to invest by immigration, they cannot do business. This, as I had mentioned earlier, has is coming from the background of money laundering and whatnot. So we have always been afraid of non-Kenyan non-residents who do not fully disclose the source of their funds, and they want to invest in Kenya, maybe competing with local traders, at the same time having the potential of being missing traders. We were also asking for tax compliance certificates for all directors, with the thought that if you are not compliant as a director, then there's a chance. If you're not compliant as a director, there's a chance that your company will not be compliant. So you need to have shown that you have clean hands before coming to ask for an obligation for your company. Yeah, if you cannot handle your own compliance issues as an individual, can you handle the compliance for a company? Yeah, that was the question. Yeah, so upon bringing these documents to KRA, the original CR12 or the ID card and passports and alien cards, the investors' permits, the tax compliance certificate, upon bringing them to KRA, the officer at KRA verifies by checking to see if there are any related companies. Yeah. When we take your PIN as an individual, we can, using our tools internally, we can tell if you have other companies, and we will try to scrutinize and understand to find out, are these other companies compliant before we issue you with VAT either in your individual PIN or in your new company. Because there are a lot of people who sometimes, maybe you have 10 companies. And these 10 companies, you have them because you're speculating for tenders. And you have never filed over a period maybe of 5 years. None of these companies has ever filed for VAT or for income tax. And then you decide to open a new company again, maybe the 11th company, and you want this 11th company of yours to be given the VAT obligation. We will ask you, these 10 companies that you registered earlier, why haven't you been compliant with them? We do not trust that you can be compliant with this new 11th company, given how you've handled yourself with the 10 companies. So your VAT can be denied based on that. Yeah. So you will see a lot of obligations are being rejected. I'll also quickly mention that for VAT, of course, to be processed, a taxpayer has to visit physically. Yeah. Even if you've applied for the VAT obligation online, you must visit physically to do the VAT interview. We have a VAT obligation addition interview, which I will share with you a sample here, so that you understand that when you visit KRA, there are questions that you'll be asked, quite basic questions. You'll be asked questions like, who are your customers? Or who do you expect to sell your products to? Who do you expect to supply to? And also you'll be asked, who are your suppliers? Who gives you these items that you sell? Of course, not always you'll not always have suppliers, especially for people offering services. Yeah, there are people who offer services that do not really need them to have suppliers, especially when maybe you're dealing with educational services, you're a consultant, your knowledge is your input. Yeah. And your output, of course, is that service. And so we will ask you questions about the nature of your business so that we just understand the kind of business you have. All this verification is done to try and eliminate the chance that you might be a missing trader, and also to try and get as much contacts as possible, given that a lot of missing traders cannot be located, they cannot be found. And some even go as far as using registration documents for dead people. Someone uses a dead person's ID to register for a company, and they, start processing invoices, which are then sold. But using this method, where we invite taxpayers for interviews and where we push to see if these contact details are actually working at the point of registration, we end up eliminating a lot of missing traders, because if you have fraudulently obtained an ID card, maybe you picked it by the roadside or it's a known dead person's ID, during this registration process, we will unearth that, because during registration, we try to call. The numbers provided as contacts. And when they don't go through, that registration is normally denied. Yeah. Now, we always communicate the reasons for rejecting your applications for VAT, because we are required by law to do that. We know processing the VAT obligation, of course, it's a pain area, as I had mentioned earlier, but we are trying as much as possible to make this make the pain to go away. Earlier, we had quite a number of requirements. Here, the mandatory requirements for obligation addition. We had a long list of requirements, which also included requirements like a sample invoice, requirements like county government permit, requirements to show us that you actually have physical location, that you're actually operating in a physical location. We want the name or the LR number and whatnot. So it was quite complex, and there was an outcry. Taxpayers complained, why are you giving us all these requirements? And a lot of them we cannot meet, because we realize a lot of companies are briefcase companies. They operate away from a physical location, and so to push them to give us a physical location when a physical location might not be necessary, especially for customers, or rather for taxpayers who deal with supplies that are not service, like taxpayers who deal with services rather. It's quite unfair to ask for a physical location, or rather even a normal startup that is operating online. Sometimes they don't need to have a physical location, or even the physical location might be their residential home, which cannot be termed as business premises. And so some requirements over time were removed, so that now we are remaining with a bit few requirements. I want to share the VAT addition interview so that we go through it quickly.
Thank you, Barak. Even as you're sharing the interview on our screens, I just want to ask those of us that might have questions, and I thank those that have been inboxing us privately. Please put your questions on the chat box, because as soon as Barak is done, we are going to take the questions and give you an opportunity to ask them. Also, just a reminder that we are streaming live on KRA TV. For those of you that are asking about this particular session and where you can find it, please note KRA TV is one word, just the word KRA and the word TV as one word on YouTube. The link has been posted right here. I think we will repost it again. You can always go back and listen to this particular session again. I just want to ask you to please like and subscribe to it, because such educative content is what you will be notified about every time we want to upload such content. So ensure that you have liked and you have subscribed to our session. Thank you. Thank you, Kerry TV crew. Thank you for posting that particular link for us, so you can find it there. Barak, I know you're sharing with us the interview. I want to ask us to please post the questions right here on the chat box. If you want to talk directly to Barak, please ensure that you raise your hand so that we give you the opportunity to ask the question. Remember that we are sharing a very practical we're sharing very practical information from a person who deals with VAT registration on a day-to-day basis. Ensure that you ask all the necessary questions that you have had or that you have. All right, so then I think Barak is trying to share his screen. Barak, we are together?
Yeah, we're together. I'm just trying to share my screen.
All right, no problem. Thank you. I think as Barak is sharing his screen, we can have a quick video on our YouTube page. I just want to bring a very quick reminder to us. This is the last Tax Thursday that we are having this particular month of September. We have a wonderful lineup for you in the month of October, and this information you will get through our social media pages, including our Twitter, or is it now formerly Twitter, now X page. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook. We have quite an interesting lineup for you in the month of October, dealing with matters trade facilitation, how KRA is facilitating trade. And we have a number of short documentaries that we have shot and lined up for you that you'd want to watch about different organizations and companies that have benefited from the trade facilitation aspect of KRA. KRA does not only collect taxes. That's a key work for KRA. It's the reason why we exist. But apart from that, there's the aspect of trade facilitation where KRA acts as an enabler for business. And we are making plans actually currently to focus on two areas on trade facilitation. You might want to mark your calendars, because every single Thursday in the month of October, we will be having our facilitators or our panelists from the two key departments in KRA, that is, or better still, let me just, yes, okay, I hope you can see me now. But we will be having discussions with two key departments under KRA, that is the Domestic Taxes Department and the Customs Department, just talking about the key trade facilitation initiatives by KRA. I see a question here by Nicholas. Thank you for it. We are going to tackle it in just a moment. But that is what I want you to stay tuned to. We shall be having quite an interesting lineup for you. And then we have a free summit, a free tax summit that is coming up on the 7th to 9th, that is 7th to 9th of October. Annually, KRA, in partnership with our institution of higher learning called KESRA. KESRA is Kenya School of Revenue Administration. I think you heard Barak mention that he is joining us from KESRA Mombasa. Yes, we have a branch at Mombasa, but the headquarters is right here in Nairobi. Now, we have a tax summit that I want you to stay tuned to through our various social pages. It's called the Annual Tax Summit. For this year, it's going to be happening for 3 days between 7th and 9th. And this tax summit brings experts from across the continent of Africa. Yes, and I see that your screen is now visible. Thank you. Thank you. Your interview notes are now very visible, Barak. Thank you. I think let me hand it over back to you. And then after the interview, after you go through the interview notes, then we will take the questions from our taxpayers.
Thank you very much, Brenda. This is these are the interview notes. So when a taxpayer brings their documents to KRA, either the taxpayer themselves, here I'm talking about the company or the individual. When you've put your documents together, that is the CR12 and the tax compliance certificates and your identity documents. When you bring these documents in hard copy to your tax station, the next document that is produced by an officer is the addition of VAT obligation interview notes, so that the details in these documents are captured in these interview notes. This is the mandatory requirement, which is an internal, it's an internal requirement. That's why you're seeing the term internal up there in that document. It is not a document to be shared with taxpayers, but it is good for taxpayers to know that this document exists and it must be filled according to our internal requirements and regulations, so that the VAT itself can be processed. Because after now the interview is done and the documents have been provided, they will be scanned. This scanned document is the one that should be uploaded to the system by an officer, and then the VAT is issued. So you see, there's no need for a taxpayer applying for VAT at the comfort of their homes when they will still have to do this interview. Earlier before we introduced these regulations, someone could apply for VAT at the comfort of their homes, and we apply from the we approve at the office as officers. But now this system was good for both the authority and the taxpayers, because it was simple and clear, and we had embraced technology. But then fraud and fraudulent activities have taken us back to I'll say the Stone Age, where now you must visit physically. Good thing nowadays, our offices don't have queues except for June. And so I'll go through this VAT interview notes. We have the date of the interview, which will have to be recorded. And then we have, let me see. Yeah, we have the date of interview. Of course, the date of interview will be, how do I cancel that? Anyway, let me just, how do you go back? Let me see. Anyway, we have the date of interview. We have the venue of interview. This venue of interview is the place, of course, where you are carrying out this interview. That could possibly be the tax station that you have visited, or say the tax service office that you have visited for you to conduct this interview. The time of interview is also captured. Then in attendance, normally we capture the name of the director or the name of the sole proprietor, and also the name of the officer. Yeah, so those, or even maybe the name of a tax auditor or somebody that you might have sent to represent you in this registration. So we have said it does not necessarily have to be a taxpayer coming all the way. They can send their child, their brother, their relative, or their lawyer or their tax auditor. Yeah. We also have details about the director, the partners, if it's a partnership, or the sole proprietor. The name of the director is usually entered here. So sometimes the person in attendance is not the director, of course, so different names will appear under the in attendance, and also the names that appear under who the director is. We also have an area here where we will add the PIN of the person, or rather or even the PIN of the business. Yeah, if it's a partnership or a company, we will put the PIN. For companies, the PIN starts with the letter P. For individuals, the PIN starts with letter A. You will put the business registration number. If it is an individual, they will definitely have a business registration certificate. That number is what we enter there. In the case of a company, it is the PVT or CPR number that is entered there. The trading name, that one is clear. Then the official email, as it appears on iTax or some other email that will be used to amend the details of the email. Then we have the official telephone number, which is provided there. And then now you will state whether the business has commenced supply of taxable supplies. So that would be an existing business, or if you are about to commence supply for new businesses. So this interview applies for both, for businesses that exist and businesses that are planning to exist. You will tell us the nature of your business. Are you a manufacturer? Are you an educational institution? Are you a wholesaler, or you are a retailer? What do you deal with? Do you deal with the sale of spare parts? Do you deal with the sale of foodstuffs? What exactly do you deal with? Under brand details, we usually inquire so that you tell us if your brand has a name. For example, you see a product like Close Up, for example, is a brand name, yeah, but the company might be might have a different, another name. Maybe it is it's Palmolive East Africa, who are the main company or the mother company. Or maybe I can give you another example, like Butter, for example, the Butter Show Company. Under their brand, they have several other names that you might encounter. Maybe they might be selling a brand like North Star, or they can be selling a brand like Wayne Brainer, so that you have shoes have different names, but then they are under a company whose name is Butter. Yeah. So then you will tell us the location of your business and their branches. Then you'll tell us for an existing business. This interview is just 2 pages. The page 1 is here. Then we have page 2, which tells us for an existing businesses, tell us your major suppliers. Yeah. Or if you are a new business, tell us your anticipated suppliers. Who will be bringing you these goods that you're intending to sell? Or where are you intending to purchase goods that you will proceed and sell? And then for an existing businesses, you also list the major customers that you're expecting. We are not usually very strict with this, because we understand for new businesses, you might just be speculating. And so you are allowed to just say general suppliers or general customers. Yeah. Then here for existing businesses, tell us the cumulative turnover of taxable supplies of a period not exceeding 12 months, the projected turnover for new businesses. So here, the answer is usually 5 million, because the VAT Act talks of a supply of about anything between 5 million and above. So your projected turnover should be above 5 million. But then if you are doing the voluntary registration, it can be anything, even below 5 million, although we encourage that if you're below 5 million, you opt for turnover tax. Then we also go to related and associated businesses through common ownership, directorship, etc. Here we are looking at associated businesses. We are looking at other businesses that you might have, so that we consult these businesses to check if they are compliant. So the compliance of your businesses will be checked when we will hope here in this question that you will answer honestly and tell us if you have any other businesses apart from the current business that you're intending to register. Because either way, we normally, of course, check from our systems to determine if you have other businesses. And then here you give us any other information that you feel is relevant, and then you complete your interview by signing and putting your name and indicating the name of the organization of the company. Then the KRA official who has taken you through the interview signs here, and there you are done with the registration, the interview, and after that, your VAT will be issued upon a very last small verification. So normally it's a walk-in and walk-out process. When you apply for VAT, say on Monday, it should be out on that very day. it should be out on that very day, unless under special circumstances there's an issue that has been unearthed and is communicated to you. But ideally, our SLA for the approval of VAT should not exceed 3 days. But personally, I like completing these VAT applications within a day. Yeah, I saw a question regarding the registration of the VAT obligation. The deregistration of VAT obligation, the requirements, basically the requirements for the registering any obligation in KRA are the same, both for VAT, TOT, any other obligation. Normally, we need you to give us a sworn affidavit indicating that your business is no longer a going concern, and you should also give us a letter, a letter requesting the cancellation of that obligation, clearly stating the reasons why you are canceling the obligation. So there's a letter. I'll just type here, letter requesting cancellation
Barak,
Hello?
I think yes. Now we can hear you. I know you were typing on the chat box.
Yes, the second one is sworn. Let me just try it too.
Okay. Is it safe to say that we have now crossed over to the Q&A session?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Okay. Fantastic. I think you're responding to a question that came from Diane, who was asking, can you deregister from VAT obligation? No. I think there was one who was asking about what is the process. This was Dixon, and he was asking about what is the process of deregistration for VAT obligation. And I think that's what is being typed up for you. Thank you so much for taking your time, Barak, to type it up. So Dix, this is just Dixon. Yes, please take note of the documents and the process. Barak, this is your time now to respond to the questions. I think you can continue responding to Dixon.
Yeah, so basically we ask for a letter requesting that cancellation, where you have to be very detailed in your reasons why you closing your business. Either you are traveling abroad, your business is no longer going concern, so you have cancelled your business at the registrar of businesses at the BRS. So once you cancel your company or you cancel your business name, you'll be issued with a cessation notice. Yeah, this cessation notice shows that your business has ceased to exist at the registrar, and normally it is gazetted. If it is a company, there will be a gazette notice. Yeah, there will be a gazette notice, and your company will be listed under that gazette notice as having ceased. Yeah. So the gazette notice, the cessation, the bank statement, sworn affidavit from a commissioner of oaths, a letter requesting cancellation is presented to the account manager, your relevant account manager. Every taxpayer, both individual and non-individual, have a given account manager at the station, at the compliance section of Domestic Taxes Department, who should receive these documents and prepare a submission or a memo going to their boss. In this case, mostly it is the chief manager and the KRA, who approves the cancellation of this obligation, of course, after it has been scrutinized and a compliance check has been done. And we have seen from your bank statements, there is no income. We have seen from our other sources that you have not been receiving any businesses. We then go ahead and cancel your obligation. It is a straightforward process, and it should not cause agony when you're pursuing the cancellation of an obligation. If you follow the process through properly, you should not have any problem.
All right.
Brenda, kindly guide the Q&A.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for taking time to respond in detail. I see Dixon was the one who had asked the question initially, and I saw a request or a hand up by him, I think just as a follow-up. I just want to give him an opportunity to respond to the feedback that you have given him. Dixon, quickly confirm that you are able to unmute. Dixon, we've given you the opportunity. Kindly just ask your question. And even as Dixon is unmuting, I'd want to follow up with a similar question, Barak, to what Dixon had initially asked about deregistration. Now, in Betty's case, I think that's a question that came up, let me see, Beatrice, not Betty. So her question was, how does one remove the VAT obligation on an individual PIN that was erroneously added? This was by error.
This is quite common. This is quite very, very, very common. So it's an interesting question because this answer will help a lot of people who are experiencing this problem. Sometimes the VAT obligation is added in error, maybe under legacy, so that when you are migrating into iTax, if you are one of these people who got PINs long time ago, and you could actually click under the obligations, you could just select maybe payee and VAT, and then you submit, you automatically get that obligation, because back then in the day, we were not scrutinizing applications for VAT. They were easily dished out, yeah? And so there are a lot of people who ended up clicking VAT as an obligation, yet they are not really supposed to have registered for the VAT obligation. It is done out of ignorance, because sometimes a new person, a new taxpayer, or someone registering for the obligation might think that because they pay VAT at the supermarket, they are obligated to also register for the VAT, and so they end up with an erroneously registered VAT obligation. Now, to remove such an obligation, the process is exactly the same, except for the cessation documents. Yeah, cessation documents are for businesses that have ever existed. For erroneous VAT, all you need is a sworn affidavit from a lawyer, a commissioner of votes, indicating that you have never owned a business or that you have never carried out any business that is vatable, or rather you don't have any business. Then you have to draft a letter indicating the same. Then you should provide your bank statement to prove that indeed there is no income from a business. Then also you have to have your identification documents so that we identify you. Quite a simple exercise. If you ask for your account manager and you provide these documents and they are well received and stamped. Yeah, another thing taxpayers don't like doing is making sure their documents are stamped. It is good when you come to KRA or when you go to any other institution, the letters or the documents that you bring them in duplicate so that they can be stamped, and then you remain with a stamped copy. That is proof that you actually brought these documents to KRA. And when there's a delay, you can always present your grievance with facts. Facts showing that indeed I came here 2 months ago and I presented my documents, and up to now I'm not seeing any progress. That way, at least your grievance can be handled in a systematic manner. Yeah. Back to you, Brenda.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. I just want to get confirmation from those that have asked to ask the question. Dixon, I have sent a request to you. I think you should be able to unmute now. I can see your mic moving, but we...
Hello? Hello? Are you able to get me?
Yes, I'm able to get you.
I can hear you.
Yeah, under the same, under special table, VAT special table, I have a few questions to ask. For example, I've produced all my documentations, and it has taken longer for me to be removed from special table. And whenever you visit the KRA offices, at times you find the officer is not there. At times when you contact him, at times anakuambia the nini is still under compliance check. What might be the issue with that?
Thank you, Dixon, for your question. Let's get Waluvengo's weighing in on that.
Dixon has introduced a very interesting concept that we did not cover in the slides, the special table. The special table is an initiative that we used to place taxpayers that we felt are suspected to be either in the scheme or they have VAT irregularities like they have the VAT obligation, but they are not filing. They are non-filers, or they are nil filers. They are religiously filing, but they are filing a zero return. Yeah. Then also another class is a class of taxpayers who failed to register for ETIMS. Yeah, when we were rolling out our invoicing system, these taxpayers failed to register for the ETIMS. Rather they failed to register for ETIMS. So as a penalty, they were placed under the special table. When you are placed under the special table, one major thing that you cannot do is to file. When you go and try filing, you are restricted. And again, you cannot trade because whoever you supply to cannot withhold from you, and any invoice that you had issued earlier cannot be utilized by your customer. And so that is a KRA's way of disrupting your business operations so that you come and regularize your status. How do you regularize your status? There is a set of documents that you are supposed to bring to KRA, basically almost the same as the documents used for registering VAT, so that we have clarity on your business operations. You need to bring your bank statement. You also need to bring your certificate of registration and whatnot, so that we go through them. We go through your bank statement, we do a compliance check to determine that indeed during this period you did not have any income or you did not make any supplies. That compliance check, sometimes it takes time, depending on, of course, the officer handling that case, because one officer sometimes has like maybe 1,000 pins that they have to do compliance checks on, and so they prioritize based on revenue. They usually prioritize and make sure that they begin their compliance checks with companies that were bringing a huge that have a huge turnover, or that were bringing huge revenue to KRA, so that we clear with them earlier for them to continue paying us. So you'll find that sometimes you find a company whose turnover is low is not prioritized. It's just a normal way of working to prioritize for revenue, because that is our core mandate. But then it looks bad, of course, when from the taxpayer side, when a delay is there during the processing of removal from the special table. And I will encourage taxpayers that whenever there is such a delay, it is good to escalate. Yeah, don't be afraid of escalating. I've always encouraged taxpayers that don't be afraid of KRA staff. They're just human like you. If someone has not executed their job within the right time frame, because we have a service charter, we have an SLA, service level agreement. If we do not meet your standards, it is okay to escalate, and you will not look like a bad person, because you're just pursuing your rights. It is good to escalate. Go look for the supervisor or the manager or the chief manager. Tell them about your grievance, and you might be surprised how fast your things will move. Because if you keep quiet, your case can continue running for maybe a year or two, and that is someone making your business not thrive or hampering the operations of your business because maybe you are trying to be nice. So don't be nice when when your business is not working, because you're the one who will sleep hungry.
All right.
Mm.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Dixon. I think that was very detailed for you. Thank you for your question, and I hope you've received the answers as you had asked. Barak, I was hoping we can go through the questions that are on the chat box quickly before I give one other person an opportunity to ask the question, just as Dixon did ask. The very first question that came in during our session was Nicholas. And Nicholas was asking, my question is for them in practice, what are the requirements for VAT applications? That's just how his question is framed. But I think you alluded to it as you were going through the training. This question came in quite early today. Would you still want to respond to him?
Yeah, the requirements, I don't know exactly. The question to me seems, for lack of a better word, a bit ambiguous. I don't know if he means the reason for the requirements. What is the reason for the requirements?
I think
what are
we
the
can.
requirements?
Maybe we can ask him to just give clarity on the chat box and say exactly what he meant, and we move over to the second question. Nicholas, thank you. Please ask the question with clarity now, or if it has been responded to in the course of the training, again, you can mention that so that we know that you are okay. The other question that came in, now that we have moved, I'm just scrolling through. Yes, Dixon question has been answered. Same to Beatrice's. So Frederick Mugune. Frederick is saying, when filing suppliers' invoices in the VAT3 return, it is rejected if one supplier has supplied the same product with several invoices, sharing the same description for several invoices. Then he's asking, why is it that our systems do not accept this kind of invoices? You think you'd want to respond?
I had lost you a bit. Are you talking about Frederick's question?
Yes, it came in at around noon on the dot. Noon, Frederick Amuguna, I hope you can see it from where you sit, talking about supplier invoices. Seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. When filing supplier invoices in VAT3, it rejects if one supplier has supplied the same product with several invoices sharing the same description for several invoices. I think he's talking about items. I think he's talking about items. And items has quite a myriad of issues, which I don't think I have the capacity to go through.
No problem.
But if they're sharing the same description, maybe the match. I don't know if the description can really affect while filing, but sometimes you can simply maybe with our system you can just play around with the description, maybe add a character or something, and it can be a game changer. There are normally workarounds to such problems.
I think
I have the capacity to answer it because I've not understood it quite well.
No problem. Frederick Mugune, kindly send us your email address or your contact so that we can get in touch and see how best to assist you in terms of your question. We might need to probe a bit more just to understand exactly what you mean and where the pain point is at so that we can assist you. Alternatively, you can also write to us through our call center. I'll give the details of the call center towards the tail end of this particular discussion. So Frederick, we are, please send us your contact details, okay? Let's move on to another question by Diane. She says, or he says, can you deregister from VAT if your business turnover drops? Barak?
Not really. Can you deregister from the VAT obligation if your business turnover drops? In the course of any business, we expect, of course, there to be fluctuations. in your turnover. We do not expect that as you're doing business, you have a fixed turnover that is ever growing. Sometimes because of the business environment, the forces of demand and supply, your business might be affected, the turnover might drop, but that does not necessarily mean you give up and remove the VAT obligation. A drop in a turnover should not trigger removal of an obligation unless it is a drop of a really long and extended period to the point that you actually deregister the entire business. But a simple drop in within 1 month should not really necessitate cancellation of the obligation. We pray for you and hope that your business will do even better after such a drop. But it's normal in the course of business for there to be that intermittence.
All right, thank you for that. One other question. Now, I don't think this question is really VAT registration or deregistration related, but Kennedy says, what happens if you made purchases, but one of the receipts has been damaged and the information on it isn't available? How should one go about it while filing for VAT? Barak, you want to respond?
This is interesting. When you have an invoice that was issued, a physical invoice, and it is damaged, mechanical damage, it is invisible maybe over time. And a lot of invoices nowadays, especially the thermal printed invoices, when you leave them outside in the normal atmosphere over time, they fade away. Because that thermal paper is not really good in keeping the ink intact. So it's common. It's a common occurrence. I've seen it with a lot of taxpayers. Usually, it's good practice to, the moment you receive your invoice, you take a photo of it. There's this scanner apps in iPhones, in smartphones rather, that people use to scan invoices and store digital copies of their invoice. It's good practice to always take a photo or scan it. But then if you have an invoice that is damaged and you want to file, I mean, it's easy and always proper to go back to whoever issued that invoice. Normally they have records, whether it was a physical invoice that was written by hand. An invoice book usually keeps a carbon copy where you can get the same information. And if it's an electronic system, even the better. If you just go to the very date that issued that invoice, it can be available. But then we are moving away from these physical invoices. We are going to items where you then have pre-populated returns, and there is no need for a physical invoice. So the future is bright. Such problems will go away with the adoption of items.
Thank you, Barak. Kennedy, I hope that you have gotten the feedback to your question. Now let's move over to Peter. Peter is saying, is it a must for a company to have a tax compliance certificate for VAT, I think, addition to be approved? This is for a company.
Yes, absolutely. You must, the company requiring the VAT obligation, as per our discussion earlier and as per our internal requirements, even external requirements, let me just put it that way, as per the VAT requirements, you must have a tax compliance certificate. A tax compliance certificate shows you are a taxpayer of good standing, meaning you do not have any tax liabilities in your ledger. You don't have any pending tax dues or liabilities. So it's just a sign that you've come to us with clean hands. It's a requirement. It's quite a requirement, and if you don't have it, it means you have to comply first by making the necessary payments or ensuring that you have filed your returns correctly. Yeah. So we cannot issue VAT to a company whose returns for income tax have never been filed. We will tell you, wewe, if you cannot, kama huwezani na an annual tax that is filed
Okay.
Back to you, Nana.
Thank you so much. I have tried to give an opportunity to one lady called Betty to unmute and ask her question. Betty, if you're still on the call, and I see that our numbers have actually increased as we have continued with the Q&A session, you have the opportunity to actually accept my invitation to you to speak. If you can, please just unmute and speak up so that we can hear you. I have two questions here for you, Barak. One is by Bob. And Bob says that if I am in business with a gross turnover that is less than 5 million, okay, and I had registered for TOT, that's turnover tax, how do I handle a case where I am doing business with a VAT registered client? So he's asking, in addition, what happens to his invoices and those invoices from the VAT registered supplier? Is the question clear?
The question, he has lost me where he is doing, where he says client stroke supplier. I don't know which one to prioritize.
Because I think, yeah.
Okay. How do I handle a case where I'm doing business with a VAT registered client? Maybe he means that the client might want a VAT, might want Bob to issue a VAT invoice so that they can use that invoice to reduce their tax liability. And a lot of clients nowadays are forcing suppliers to register for VAT, so that whenever, of course, they charge VAT, they can utilize these purchase invoices to reduce their tax liability. But it's usually good to have these conversations, and I've given out my number so that these suppliers can even call us directly to consult. Not every person supplying should be registered for VAT. And also, to go to his other question, if you have been charged VAT as a trader, yeah, when for example, you've made a purchase, from from wherever, and that purchase, you are charged VAT. Naturally, you are expected to make sales that have VAT, but since you are under the turnover tax regime, it means you do not have the VAT. But then again, I'll remind you that turnover tax and VAT are two different things. Turnover tax replaces turnover tax is under income tax. Yeah. And that said, it means you can actually register for VAT too if you have turnover tax. Let me not confuse you guys, but I want to be very clear that you can have TOT and VAT obligation at the same time, because they are two different tax heads. They operate very differently, and it is just a recommendation that when you are below 5 million, you operate under turnover tax. But that does not mean to say that you cannot have VAT too. So there is one option which you can adopt. You can either register for TOT and VAT, so that you can declare your the VAT invoices, either that or you don't register for VAT, and when you are charged VAT, you cannot utilize that purchase. That input tax cannot be utilized. You will have made a loss. You will have sort of made a loss in a way, but then the good thing about turnover tax is that the rate is so low. You see, VAT is 16%, yeah, but the tax rate for turnover tax is 3%, quite low, if you ask me. 3%, and remember the act changed it to 1.5%, but generally if you add affordable housing levy, that's when now it comes to 3%, because affordable housing levy is 1.5%, and as it stands, turnover tax is 1.5%. So 1.5% is quite a low tax rate that should not really affect you, even if you have purchased goods with VAT and you failed to sell them with VAT. I don't know if I'm making sense, Mr. Bob.
Bob, I hope you have heard the response that has come from Barak. If you wish to engage further, you can do that on email. Now, I want us to move a bit faster. Looking at the time, my goodness, where does time fly when you're having a good training? So I just want to quickly just note those that are asking their questions through our KRA TV platform. I thank Evans Omoni Angasa, who's been following us live on KRA TV, and thank you for your engagement. And there's a question that came up, but I think you've responded to it. Gaidhuma Kiarie was asking, what is the process for deregistering from VAT, which you have touched on already. So Gaidhuma, please confirm that you have followed through with the requirements for and the process for deregistering. Maybe Barak, you can quickly touch on. I know you talked about the documentation for deregistration. Is that the same as the procedure? Did you touch on that, or could you touch on that?
The procedure for deregistering?
Yes, this is for the sake of Gaidhuma Kiarie, who is following us on KRA TV.
Oh, yeah, I'll quickly go through them. Of course, the procedure for deregistering requires that you submit the right documentation or the right requirements for deregistration. And I had mentioned that the documentation for deregistration of any obligation in KRA, any obligation, it involves you writing a letter requesting for cancellation. And this letter, it's good when it is in duplicate, so that when it is being received in KRA, you remain with a copy that has a KRA stamp from the tax station where you have submitted this application. So there's a letter requesting cancellation, then we have the sworn affidavit. This sworn affidavit is usually prepared by a commissioner of oaths. It is a requirement from our guidelines that a lawyer emphasizes, or rather brings out the reason for cancellation through a sworn affidavit, so that in case one day we find that you lied to us in your letter, or some information is incorrect, at least it can stand in a court of law that you actually produced a sworn affidavit. Then we have a bank statement. This bank statement, we ask for it for doing compliance checks. A compliance check is whereby we check your bank statement for the turnovers, we check your debits and your credits. We try to confirm from where has this money come from, and where we don't really it doesn't really matter, or let me say, we don't really care how you spend it, but we really care how the inflow. Yeah, we care about how the money comes in. Is it coming from a customer? Is it coming from the supply of goods? Is it coming from the supply of services? That way we can make a determination and know whether these monies are taxable. Yeah. Then you also need to have a cessation notice if in the case of a business name that you have deregistered. and then you must have a gazette notice if it is a company that you have deregistered. Now, once you present these documents to your account manager at the TSO, at the tax service office, the account manager, the next step they will do is do the compliance check, querying our several different systems to see if indeed you have been supplying goods or not. And when you're given a clean bill of health, a memo is prepared. A memo, or rather a submission, is prepared for approval by, this is now an internal process. A memo or a submission is prepared for approval by the chief manager or the current, TSO head. Once it has been approved, the memo, when it is approved, it comes back to an officer who then goes to the iTax system and cancels your obligation officially. Once the obligation is approved, the process is over. Yeah, I hope that answers the question about the process.
Yes, yes, it does. Yes, it does. I hope you can hear me, Barak.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Now, these questions that are coming in, and I see that some of them are not actually related to VAT registration. We may not be able to respond to all of them. In the interest of time, it's already almost about 1:45. We are way past the time when we ought to be wrapping up. So then I'll ask you, kindly do not type any more questions. We really don't have the capacity to answer now in terms of time, of course. But you can write to us. There are email addresses that we did send out to you through the tax education email. That is taxeducation@kra.go.ke. In fact, let me just put it up. Tax education at kra.go.ke. I think, Barak, what we can do, I can copy the questions that have come in, and then we can get a time to do just a quick write-up in terms of responding to these questions, because we only have time to pick one or two questions before we do the closing remarks and call it a day, so that nobody feels left out. That's the email address, taxeducation@kra.go.ke. I'll just pick on a few questions, Barak, just to ask you now as we are drawing to a close. I was going in reading to the questions as they came in. So those that wrote their questions earlier have actually had their questions answered. And there's one question I believe I skipped by a lady called Purity. There was one question by Purity who asked this. Why is it? She actually says, why do some suppliers key in your PIN details during purchase, and are not able to? Okay. If I just read it as it is, I was just trying to make sense of it. It says, why do some suppliers key in your PIN details during purchase and are not found on the pre-populated list at the end of the month?
I think this is just part of the e-teams issues that I was talking about earlier. Thinking maybe you guys need to do a forum for e-teams and its issues, because I'm not in that unit. I think I'll pass that on.
No problem. It's okay. Purity, we've noted your question. It will be part of the answers that we shall send out to everyone on email. Beryl says, I have a turnover of less than 5 million in a year. I have registered for income tax. Do I still have to register for turnover tax? Again, it's a question that's unrelated, but
Yes. Now it depends. It really depends with a lot of things. Are we talking about an individual or an individual? But then in the case of an individual, if you're doing business, yeah, you should have at least. We encourage. I'm saying we encourage because we don't have the backing of the law. It is not mandatory, but we encourage you that if you're doing business, you should have at least one monthly obligation, for easy accounting. Because again, if you wait for the whole year to do income tax when you're in business, it's not very good because the kind of accounting that you'll be doing will be a bit messy. It's good to keep records and account for them monthly. Then at the end of the year now, you can easily know which part of tax that you paid. Then you do the balance of tax payments, of course, by April. But then, to answer your question, if you have a turnover of less than 5 million in a year, and I have registered for income tax, do I still have to register for turnover tax? I will answer yes. I will answer yes. Because if you don't register for turnover tax or voluntarily enlist for VAT, then you are not, basically that is, you're not compliant. You're not compliant. A business person should have at least 1 monthly obligation.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Barak, for that. Sadly, we can only pick one more question, but I see so many questions on eTIMS, and we have taken note, including a comment by Winnie who says, who was asking who should address the eTIMS challenges. Winnie, it is us, and that is a separate training that we will arrange for. Especially when we are talking about trade facilitation, we will have a session just to address eTIMS. Winnie, stay tuned to our social media pages. We're going to post the trainings that will come up because she says there's just so much that needs to be addressed when it comes to eTIMS. I know she says, is it possible for us at KRA to do a proper awareness regarding requirements to register for eTIMS? And then she says many people are confusing eTIMS and VAT registration. Winnie, we've taken note of your concern. What I will say at this point is that we did indeed conduct quite a number of trainings and sessions on eTIMS. And if you go to our KRA TV YouTube page and just search the word eTIMS, you will find so many sessions, training sessions that we actually conducted on eTIMS and how to register for eTIMS, and even debunking questions, myths, things to do with eTIMS that perhaps people do not understand. We have conducted quite a number of sessions that you can revisit. That is on our KRA TV page. Maybe just one more question to you, Barak, so that we can now do our closing remarks. There's a question that came in regarding VAT registration. I'm just looking for it. It was regarding time. Now. That question was from a gentleman called CPA. Yes, CPA Hesbon. He said, how long does it take to approve an amended VAT? Okay, he's talking about a return. I thought he was talking about registration. I don't know if you're in a position to respond.
I liked a certain question here about is a commission earned by tour operators exempt from VAT? This is a very common question. Yes, the VAT Act exempts commissions from tour operators. The only part of that should be charged VAT is in-house services. The Act says in-house services, for example, accommodation. You see, when a tour operator decides to offer accommodation services or food alongside, their normal business, then that accommodation and food will incur, of course, VAT. They'll be required to charge VAT and, of course, register for VAT. But a tour operator who gets commissions, you see, tour operators usually get commissions from hotels, maybe when they take tourists there to those hotels, so they earn commissions. Yeah, those commissions are not chargeable to VAT. It is exempt. So that's just to clarify.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. And indeed, we can actually go on and on because, Barak, the questions are not reducing by any means. If anything, they're coming in.
I can clearly see that, and I would want, of course, to go through each of them. It's quite exciting.
Yes, we will have that time. Don't worry, anybody that has asked the question, we are going to respond to all of them. So I will just copy these questions, and then Barak and I will have an opportunity to.
Brenda, are you seeing this? It's not really a question. The one from Dixon.
Yeah.
Dixon is saying,
what is he saying?
Is a reverse charge effective in mitigating missing trader fraud? Quite an interesting, contribution there. Reverse charge is where the recipient of the VAT is the one, or rather the person who receives the supply is the one who should now, make that declaration of VAT. So he's asking, can that be a meeting? It's like he's trying to help us think, can that mitigate? Can that mitigate the problem of missing traders? It could actually. It's a good contribution. Yeah, reverse charge. Where now, you see, Brenda, when you have a business and instead of me paying you together with VAT, I'm the one paying.
Yes,
Like I'm
thank
the one paying directly to KRA, and that can be utilized, of course, with a nice system that taxes at source, so that as you're paying for your products in the supermarket does not charge you. Okay, it charges you VAT, but as you're making the payment, the VAT directly goes to KRA. Yeah,
I hear you, Barak.
quite interesting.
It's actually an interesting conversation. Thank you. And I know we have had such conversations in as far as e-teams is concerned, especially when we're talking about e-teams perhaps from taxpayers that are not very well versed technologically. I know those conversations have actually come up of the reverse payment. But yes,
and
that
it
is
actually
just
happens already with withholding. Withholding tax is basically reverse VAT, where you see now the liability is on the head of the person receiving that service or a good pay. So
true.
it's withholding VAT is a form of reverse charge. Quite interesting.
Same thing to the pay that is deducted from us, Barak.
Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. Wow. We have had quite an interesting conversation today. Thank you so much, Barak, for taking time to respond to us. Aside from those that are tuned in here on the KRA WebEx platform, we have had over 50 people joining us. And I think you're sharing your screen, or you stopped sharing your screen. Okay. We have had, maybe you can just stop sharing altogether. We have had over 50 people. Yes, thank you. Over 50 people watching us live on KRA TV YouTube page, and also our KRA TV platform that's available on the KRA website. So thank you very much for making time to listen to us. I just want to thank those that have actively engaged us, including Nicholas Gadesha. Thank you so much for engaging us live while we have been live on KRA TV. Thank you to our KRA TV crew that have ensured that everything goes very smoothly in as far as the technical aspect is concerned. Sam and the team, Shomba Mungai, wherever you are, thank you so much for making this great success. Now, Barak, your closing remarks and your closing statements, what would you want to tell our dear Kenyans even as we end this session?
Hello? Did I get you?
Yes, we are giving you an opportunity to make your closing remarks. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I want to really thank the team, the KRA TV team. I would like to thank you, Brenda, for this really good, engaging session and for the opportunity. And I also thank the taxpayers who found it proper to found time to actually join us in this engagement. I would hope to have more and more taxpayers joining us so that this knowledge is shared and also transferred. I know the taxpayers who joined us today will definitely be experts in their own right when they are advising their friends that when you want your VAT to be approved, you simply need to go there with the following documents, and it helps when we share this knowledge and we have this transfer of knowledge, and at the end of the day, it makes our services to be offered in a seamless manner, in a proper manner, and everybody goes home happy. I'm really, really excited for this opportunity, Brenda. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much. Let's put our hands together and appreciate our very able panelist today. That is Barak Waluvengo, who's joining us from from Nairobi, yes, but he's at the coast while doing this training. Let's see the appreciation just going to him. If you can give him a hand. Thank you, Debbie. Yes, let's encourage him. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Judy. Thank you. Let's appreciate him much better. I know Betty and Peter, you had wanted to ask your questions. Thank you so much. But we will respond to all of them as they have come on email. Francis, we see you. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have come to the end of our session today. Thank you for working with us from the onset. Susan, I see that. Thank you so much. From the beginning to now, as we have come to the close. Winnie, thank you. Barak, can I ambush you? Can I ambush you and ask you to pray and make the closing prayer for us? I know you are not prepared, but yes.
I'm always prepared for God. I'm prepared
All right.
for heaven, always. So, whichever place we are in, let's commit and pray. So, Father, in the name of Jesus, we come to you this afternoon. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for our taxpayers. We thank you for our country and our leadership. We pray that all these things that we've talked about under the VAT, we pray that people, who are grappling with them to understand, and if people are having any challenges, Father, help their businesses, help our taxpayers' businesses to thrive, help our economy to thrive, so that even as an authority, as we administer our taxes, we serve our taxpayers with the respect and with the humility that they deserve. Add to us more knowledge, Father. Add to us humility. Give us peace. Give us the love that comes from above. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Barak. We are 2 minutes ahead of schedule. We had planned to end this at 1. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a blessed afternoon and see you again next week on Thursday. Remember, like and subscribe to our KRA TV YouTube channel.